Good morning and welcome to the Board of County Commissioners agenda setting and work session for Tuesday, November 17th, 2020. If you'd like to join in and listen, the phone number is 360-252-9020 and the PIN number is 1234. I'm John Hutchings, the chair of the board. We also have Vice Chair Commissioner Ty Menser. Do we know anything about Commissioner Edwards?
Yes, Commissioner Edwards is running a couple minutes late. He had a tree on the roadway. He was trying to go around or try to help removing it. So,
okay, thank you. We have County Manager Romero Chavez, and we have Amy Davis, the clerk of the board, and Megan Porter, our PIO. And other people will pop in routinely, and they will introduce themselves as appropriately. The first thing on the agenda is the COVID-19 update, but we're going to defer that to about 10:30 when we go into a public health briefing. And so we'll just take care of that then. We're going to begin with the homeless strategies update. And any moment, I think Keely Marino is going to pop. Oh, ta-da! There's Keely and our homeless services coordinator. And so Keely, take it away.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Keely Marino, Health and Social Services. Good to see you all. Just a brief update for you today. As usual, I'll start with Community Action Council's eviction prevention program updates. What I have for you today is that they have served through that particular program 719 households in the county, which is a remarkable number, and they're not finished yet. For back months of rent, that constitutes 2,028 back months worth of rent. So that's very exciting. They also have an affordable housing COVID response fund that they've been awarding rental assistance and mortgage assistance and a utility assistance simultaneously. And so anyone in Thurston County, if you are concerned about your rent or your mortgage, please reach out to the Action Council of Lewis, Mason, and Thurston. Their website, you can do a Google search, CACLMT, and you can find housing there and sign up for an appointment for eligibility. So please do so if you need it. We're continuing to have conversations with City of Olympia and City of Lacey around safe parking programs. We had a meeting site at one of the City of Olympia's locations last Friday. We're continuing to work with some providers in the community to see if they have the capacity in which to run a program. So that is ongoing. I don't have anything very solid necessarily to give you, but it is definitely well underway in terms of planning and conversations. We did get finally some guidance from HUD, the Office of Housing and Urban Development, on the point in time count for 2021. They have released some guidance around the unsheltered count. And so we will be looking at that guidance. We've been waiting it. Of course, by this point, in any normal year, we would be well underway and would have the point in time count pretty much. We've been waiting for this guidance. And so part of the guidance is that we could make the decision to ask for an exemption for an unsheltered count. We are going to move forward with some kind of hybrid of safely being able to do an unsheltered count. So as soon as we are able to land on what our office intends to do in conjunction with guidance from the Department of Commerce for Washington State and our continuum of care, then we'll fill you in as soon as possible. And then lastly, the Regional Housing Council is meeting this Thursday. It is beginning at 4:30 p.m. If any member of the public would like to join, there is a link on the Thurston County Public Health and Social Services website to sign on and listen in. There will also be time for public comment. So please go ahead and sign on to the Thurston County Public Health and Social Services website to find that link. And that's all I have for today.
All right, any questions, Commissioner?
Keely, I had heard that there was, based on some site visits or further analysis, that there was going to be less capacity at the Olympia site for safe parking than had previously been imagined. Is that right? And I guess let me start with that. Is that true? Or do you know?
Well, it depends. There's the potential, that parcel of land has two sites that are owned by the City of Olympia. one is a smaller lot, and there's a subsequent lot that is much larger. And so we're looking at what is feasible for either site with regards to capacity and whether or not it's at all, we can move forward with both options. We would choose one, to be clear, not both, but one site would fit about 25 vehicles max. The other site, we haven't mapped out to determine how many vehicles could fit in that parcel, but it would be significantly higher than 25.
Okay, well, I had heard that the 25 was less than 25 once the P's and Q's got lined up. So I was concerned about that because to commit a substantial amount of money to serve far less than 25 vehicles becomes much less attractive from my perspective. So to get to the point in the discussion where that looks like the reality, I think it needs to come back to the board for a discussion about it, because it's not exactly what we understood to be the scope of the project. But it sounds like there's still thought going into it, so I'll wait for that.
Absolutely. I'll get back to you with that. Yes.
If I may, Commissioner. And also, at this point, the county-owned site, which is next to the City of Olympia property, is not under consideration for RV parking. As you may recall, the board has made the decision to maybe set that aside as a resource for the long-term needs of the unsheltered individuals, but not for an RV parking. So I just want to put that out there. I know there has been some discussions, perhaps that this might be an option, but that's not the direction of the board early in the year, I believe. But I do believe the board continues to have this site, the county property, as an asset for a long-term solution outside of the RV parking that we're currently dealing with right now.
Okay, got it.
Keely, I went by Onsen Road a couple of times since Thursday and Friday, and still there's a heap of people there. Is it completely hands-off? The City of Olympia, is that their tactic at this point until some place is found for these folks to go?
I would hazard to say hands off. I believe they're still continuing to work with those individuals. I know also Ole Mutual Aid Partnership is also reaching out to them on a very regular basis. So I would not say hands off. However, I know that they are waiting to find a reasonable place for those individuals to be located.
Okay, I didn't mean that they were not actively involved, but there's no enforcement, no trying to move them off, and no citing them, and so. But they're trying to find places for these folks.
Correct. That's what I understand.
Okay. And in the meantime, I don't know if you know the answer to this. In the meantime, is emergency services still rerouting around Lily Road?
I would have to get confirmation on that. I have not heard that directly.
Okay, just curious. All right, thank you. That's all I have.
Okay.
Thank you, Keely.
Thank you.
Next, we're going to review the Board of County Commissioners draft agenda for this afternoon. We don't have a BOCC meeting this afternoon, but we do have numerous public hearings. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to be exact. So at 4 p.m., the first public hearing is Community Planning and Economic Development. Is the CPED Extension Ordinance for Economic Security and Relief.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioners. Let me walk you through all the public hearings you have scheduled for you this afternoon.
Thank you.
And also for the benefit of the viewing public, the reason as to why you don't have your Board of County Commissioners regular meeting this afternoon is for you to be able to attend the Washington State Association of County Leaders annual conference that begins today at noon and goes through the end of Thursday. There are many different sessions that you can attend, and that has been an event the board has attended in the past. And again, that's the reason as to why to give you the flexibility to attend those sessions. I will ask you this afternoon if you're in a halfway session that at 4 o'clock we do have the public hearings this afternoon, and that goes all the way until past 5 o'clock. At 4 o'clock, you receive public testimony related to extending the permit deadlines that you have already give the first action early in the year related to COVID-19. And this is this action for your consideration based on the public hearing for you to take an action this afternoon. The next hearing at 4 o'clock or soon thereafter is you'll be receiving public testimony related to the proposed flow control ordinance related to the solid waste management and handling. At this point, we are not suggesting for you to take an action. We'll schedule a further hearing depending on the public testimony you might receive. Moving on to 5 o'clock, and that's what we have laid out those public hearings, considering that perhaps you may receive some significant public testimony on the flow control. Then at 5 o'clock, we have your regular budget hearing related to revenue and property tax changes. And at that point, you will be receiving public testimony related to the property tax proposed increases, if that is the case, as well as the proposed diversion and road levy shift. We have not added those options for you to take an action this afternoon because I think it will be prudent for you to hear public testimony, and then I will bring those actions to you next week for final consideration. Following the public hearings related to revenue and property tax, you have a public hearing where you will be receiving public testimony on the proposed rate increases for Long Lake and Lake Lawrence. And one is scheduled to be, I believe, at 3%. The other one's at 1%. And you have received briefings related to that. And also the last one, 5 o'clock or soon thereafter, will be for you to receive public testimony related to the proposed park impact fee rate schedule updates as part of the 2020 parks impact fee studies. And again, at this point, we will not give you the option to take an action, and we will bring that formal action later on this year for your consideration. So those are the 5 public hearings that we have scheduled for you this afternoon. I think it's going to be a busy afternoon. We'll make sure that we work through the logistics here in room 280. We do have a maximum capacity of 10 individuals in room 280. That's the main boardroom where you meet. If we see that we have enough individuals who would like to provide public testimony in person, we have room 152, which is on the same building on the first floor. We'll have an overflow, and we'll manage that overflow as we have done in the past. For those individuals who we may ask to be in 152, we have all the video available so they can follow the meeting as we move along. And we'll walk you through the logistics this afternoon again when you start the public hearings. Any questions on that?
As we go through, I'm going to go through one by one to see if the board has any questions. But out of the 5 public hearings, it looks like the only one we will be voting on perhaps will be the very first one, the extension ordinance. So I'll start with that one. Commissioners, do you have any questions about that one, extending the ordinance?
No, sir.
I don't have any questions on the public hearings at all. Thank you.
No, you don't. Okay. Do you, Gary, any questions on any of these public hearings?
No, sir.
Oh, okay. Well, thanks, Brett, for stepping in anyway. And that takes care of the public hearings for today. 4 o'clock. We'll move on to the BOCC meeting for Tuesday, November 24th, 2020. And at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we'll call the meeting to order, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to be led by Commissioner Edwards. And then presumably an approval of the agenda for that day and the board meeting minutes from November 10th from last week. Then we go into presentations, and the first one is Public Works, introductions of new Public Works employees.
Yeah, Commissioners, Scott Lindblom, the county engineer, will be introducing I believe, 3 new staff members in the Public Works Department. It will be Ryan Blazer, Heidi Stenbach, and Jocelyn Baker. And they will give you a little bit of background of each of those new employees, and that will give you an opportunity to welcome them formally to Thurston County.
Oh, nice. And then the next presentation is again Public Works Outstanding Performance Awards for Temeshan and Boston Harbor wastewater treatment plants.
Yeah, the department received from the Department of Ecology an outstanding performance award for the Thomas and Boston Harbor wastewater treatment facilities for the year 2019. And Tim Wilson is going to walk the board and perhaps gives you also the opportunity to acknowledge the great work Public Works does in keeping those facilities on a great, outstanding performance.
Very nice. Commissioners, any comments on these?
The only thing I might have is because we got those awards, does that make us eligible at the higher part of a list, maybe for some funding to deal with some of those issues we're dealing with there?
Yeah, this always provides opportunities to that, Commissioner. It will
Okay.
continue to find those opportunities as we move along.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Okay. Then we'll have agenda number one. Item number one is a public comment. And we'll see what happens then. Do you have any foreshadowing, Romero?
Not necessarily at this point.
Okay. Then any follow-ups that you'll be doing?
And not that I have anything pending.
Okay. And then consent items, A and B. One is the voucher list, and the second is the voucher list. Yay, for both weeks. And we'll see those as they come in. Department items, number 4 on the agenda is setting a public hearing for a telecommunications franchise agreement with New Singular Wireless.
Yeah, Commissioners, we received an application for a franchise agreement from New Singular Wireless, PCS LLC. They will provide telecommunication services to county citizens. And as you may recall, the franchise agreement is for allow those utilities to operate within the counties right away. The first step in the process is for you to take public testimony before you accept the franchise application. And soon after that, then depending on the public testimony, you may direct staff to continue the negotiations of the franchise agreement, and an additional legislative action may be required down the road. And again, this item is for you to consider setting a public hearing for Tuesday, December 15, where you receiving public testimony related to this franchise application. Patty Rosetto's here, I believe, yes. And she's available to answer any questions related to this item.
Thanks for joining us, Patty. You have anything to add? No? Okay. Any questions for Patty? Or
Yes,
comments?
yes, sir.
Go ahead.
Is there any revenue associated with this, should we grant that?
No. There is no revenue associated with this.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Patty. You have nothing, Ty, on that?
No.
Okay. Number 5 on the agenda, Public Health and Social Services, an agreement for respite care.
Yeah, Commissioners, this item is a continuation of a contract between Thurston County Specialized Recreation and the Department of Social and Health Services, Developmental Disabilities Administration. And for the provision of provide respite care services to the community members with developmental disabilities. This new contract is for the period of September 1st, 2020 and goes through June 30th, 2021. This contract, really doesn't have a dollar amount since the county specialized recreation program receives reimbursement based on the activities that we receive. And this contract, what I call an instrument, is to allow to go through the reimbursement basis to get from the state to provide those services. There is no county dollars associated with this particular programs, and everything is funded by the state, I believe. So Margaret Bagley is here to answer any questions you may have related to this item. Margaret?
Well, good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning, Margaret. Do you have anything to add?
No, Ramiro summed that up perfect.
Okay.
So looking forward to having programs start back up sometime, hopefully in 2021.
Yeah.
All right. Commissioners, any questions or comments on this?
No, sir.
No? Aye?
Nope.
Nope. Okay. Well, thank you, Margaret, anyway.
Great, thank you.
Number 6, 6A is the master interlocal agreement for Rural Community Support Program.
Yeah, Commissioners, you may recall that a couple of weeks ago, you entertained an agreement where the county received federal funds. And as a result of receiving federal funds, we in return provide services to cities within the South County. And those smaller cities are the ones who are not in the position to manage the federal funds. So the county takes the federal funds, we have the infrastructure in place and have the expertise in place to manage the federal funds. And in return, we provide the services using county road dollars. So there is really, it's not a loss to the county in a way. So what this particular agreement does is set the stage for us to provide those services. And this is a master agreement for maintenance activities within the town of Bucota, the cities of Rainier and Tenino. And this interlocal agreement is necessary for us to provide those services as needed. Those may include pavement and striping, potholes, and any regular maintenance and operations within the city roads and town roads. So that's pretty much the premise of this. And again, this is just one step more that we need to do to provide the services to those cities in South County. Matt Anselman is here to answer any questions related to this proposal.
Good morning, Matt. Do you have anything to supplement that presentation?
Good morning. Only that this is a great way that Public Works specifically can better support these smaller agencies.
And the town of Bucota and the other cities are probably excited about this?
They're more than excited.
Okay. Commissioners, any questions or comments?
No, I'd just like to say that Matt does a good job in this regard. I know he's got a good relationship. Thank you.
Yep. Did you have anything, Ty?
Nope, good to go.
All right. Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Next is 6B, setting a public hearing for water and sewer rates.
This is for your consideration, Commissioners, is for you to set the public hearing for December 15, 2023 in the afternoon to receive public testimony related to rates of sewer and water within Thurston County for the year 2021. You may recall early this year, you took an action that they provided some relief to the utility customers related to the COVID-19. In order for us to continue to provide those services and maintain the same rates that we have from 2020 to 2021, you need to take a legislative action to set those rates. So the proposal before you is to set the public hearing for December 15, because before you take a formal action, you need to hold a public hearing, is to ensure the same rates that currently apply in 2020 move forward into 2021, and yet to continue to provide some relief to those customers, because at this point we don't know when the emergency will end, hopefully sometime in 2021. That is really the gist of this item. And I think, well, Tim, I think, is here to answer any questions related to this item, unless I'm mistaken.
Thank you. Tim, do you have anything to add?
Nothing to add at this time, unless there's questions.
Okay. Commissioner Menser?
Yeah, I'm not quite getting it. So we have rates that what Ramiro says, if we don't restore the rates for 2021, then what happens? What if we don't do anything?
Because you need to set the rates in 2021. And in order to continue the same rates in 2020, you need to take a legislative action. Because absent that, it will be, I believe within the code, includes an inflation factor that will take place in 2021.
Okay, there's a missing piece.
Yeah.
So we want to try to keep rates the same. The proposal is to keep rates the same, sidestep the normal inflationary factor. And
that is correct, sir.
Okay.
All right. Commissioner Edwards?
No, sir.
Good, got it. Thanks for connecting that dot, Ty and Romero. Thank you, Tim. 6C, setting a public hearing for the speed limit schedule for various county roads.
Yes, Commissioners, this is a follow-up to the briefing you received early this year, where there is a proposal by Public Works to revise the speed limits in some of the county roadways. And as you may recall, before the county, the legislative authority of the county can take an action, you need to hold a public hearing to provide the public the opportunity to comment on the proposed revisions. There is 6 locations that you will be considering by you setting the public hearing. Those 6 locations at 56th Avenue from Puget Beach to Hill Street. It will go from unposted, which is 50 miles an hour, to 40 miles an hour. 153rd Avenue Southeast from Vale Road to Lawrence Lake. The current posted speed is 50, and the proposal will go to 45 miles an hour. 216th Avenue Southwest is from Old Highway 99 to Hobson Road Southwest. It is unposted, which is 50 miles an hour, and the proposal is go to 35 posted miles per hour. Munson Court Southwest is from Munson Drive Southwest to Dead End. It is currently unposted, 50 miles an hour, and the proposal is to go to 25 miles an hour. And also on Munson Drive Southwest from Cedar Flat Road Southwest to Dead End, currently is unposted 50 miles an hour and go to 25 miles an hour. And lastly, is Woodward Bay Road East is from Boston Harbor Road East to Libby Road Northeast. It's currently unposted, 50 miles an hour, and the proposed to go to 40 miles an hour. And Matt Anselman, who manages this part of the business and public works, is available to answer any questions.
Thank you. I just have one quick one, Matt, before I go to my seatmates. Is this because of complaints or collisions or both?
All of the speed limits on this year's agenda were in response to citizen complaints.
Okay. Are they high collision areas?
Some of them are 153rd specifically is a high collision corridor.
Okay. Commissioner Menzer, questions or comments?
No, sir.
No.
Nothing, Gary?
No, sir.
Okay. Matt, thank you again very much.
Thank you.
That takes us to item number 7 on the agenda, which is the commissioners reporting back on our work sessions and committees and such, and then the county manager reviewing our calendar, and then we'll adjourn. But we move right into at 3 o'clock into a public hearing next week, and the first one is community plan and economic development regarding the development in floodplains.
Yeah, commissioners, thank you. Let me take you back to early this year where the commissioners passed an interim ordinance on June 16, 2020. That was ordinance 15905. There was somewhat of an emergency ordinance to align with the requirements of FEMA related to the floodplains here in Thurston County. That ordinance expired on this, it will expire on January 31st, 2021. So this step is for you to hold a public hearing to make those changes permanent. And that is the proposal before you. There is really no changes from the interim ordinance that you passed back in June 16, 2020. And this action again will be for you to take public testimony before you can enact the same elements of June 16, 2020 into a permanent regulation. Jeremy Davis is here to answer any questions.
All right.
Good morning,
Jeremy. Good morning. Anything to add, Jeremy?
I do not, sir.
Okay. Gary, anything?
Yes, sir. This, in the end, is a benefit to the citizens when they put in for flood insurance. It saves them financially. Is that right?
Yes, sir. It keeps Thurston County compliant with the National Flood Insurance Program, so folks can get insurance, and also ensures that we remain as a Class 2 community rating system community. As a Class 2 community, those within the 100-year floodplain or 1% area receive a 40% reduction in their flood insurance, and those outside receive a 10% reduction. So it is a benefit for them. In addition, the ordinance is adding a provision that will allow agricultural users to place flood sanctuary structures that don't increase the flood level in the floodplain, so thereby protecting either A, their equipment, or B, their farm animals in case of flooding.
Thank you.
Ty, anything?
Jeremy, have you received any comments so far from the public?
No, sir, I've not received any comments so far from the public on this.
Okay.
And Commissioners, for your consideration, we have the two items next week, two actions. One is for you to close the public hearing, and the other one, depending on the public testimony that you may receive, is for you to consider approving the ordinance on this proposal. So you will see those two options for you next week.
Got it. And we can have those options split out, so not in one big paragraph. Thank you. All right.
Yeah,
thank you very much.
we'll split that.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Thank you.
The next public hearing is at 5:30, and it is CPED, and this is regarding the 2020 Comprehensive Plan Update.
Yes, Commissioners, I do expect you will be receiving significant public testimony in this public hearing. And this is a public hearing related to proposed amendments under Chapter 1, 2, 3, 6, 9, 11 in Appendices C and D, which includes the future land use map, long-term forestry and agricultural map, designation of mineral lands, and proposed amendments to the mineral lands as well, and also which includes or part of Title 17 and 18 and 20 of the Thurston County Code. The board has been briefed on these proposed changes on a couple of occasions, and again, this is for you to receive public testimony related to the proposed changes. At this point, we are not providing you with an option to approve the changes because I believe there's going to be some significant feedback that you will be receiving from the public. We will schedule a follow-up briefing for you with staff will walk you through based on the public testimony you have received. And then at that point, we'll ask the board how you'd like to proceed and to the next steps. Maya Teeple has been doing a fantastic job managing this part of the comp plan docket, and she's here to answer any questions.
Good to see you, Maya. Do you have anything to add?
I do not. Just to note that the follow-up briefing is scheduled for December 3rd from 9 to 10. So that'll be to discuss all the public comment that the board receives on these topics.
Got it. Ty, anything for Maya?
No.
Gary?
I don't know if an hour is going to be enough, but
okay. All right, Gary?
No, sir.
All right, got it. Thank you, Maya.
Thanks.
That will conclude November 24th BOCC meeting and public hearings. And now we're moving into proclamations and awards. Amy Davis, clerk of the board. Anything?
We're just getting the microphone set up.
Thank you.
Good morning, Commissioners. There are no proclamations or awards for review this morning.
Okay, well, you have the microphone. How about advisory boards and commissions?
There are also no advisory boards or commissions to review this morning.
All right, thank you, Amy.
Thank you.
Megan Porter, PIO check-in.
Good morning, Commissioners. Megan Porter, Public Information Supervisor. I just have one update for you. I'm working with IT and the Auditor's Office on communications around a new kiosk system that we'll be putting into place at the buildings. It will be implemented early next week, I believe, for at least Building 1, where people can go online and sign up for appointments instead of coming and waiting in lines. So hopefully that will make it so there's less people in the lobbies and people will be able to just come in for their appointment and know when they're going to be seen. So that's coming soon. Pending any questions, that's all I have for you today.
Any questions, Commissioners, for Megan?
No, sir.
Nope. Okay, I have one for Romero. Regarding the, you mentioned the kiosk, Megan, that we're putting in for customer service as a result of COVID. Did you want to cover, are you going to cover it later, Romero, regarding business as usual for the county, in case the public wants to know regarding remarks of the 15th?
Yeah, I can cover that today, right now, if you like.
Sure, please. People might be wondering.
I believe the public is aware the governor issued a series of additional restrictions related to the, in order to address the rising of the COVID-19 cases, not just here in Thurston County, but across the state. And I believe across the nation, we're facing with this great deal of increasing cases. So that press conference was on Sunday at 11 in the morning. So we have been working since as to how this new guidance applies to local governments. As you may recall, in previous guidance, they have not been clear as to how local governments should be able to respond related to the orders the governor issued. I did have the opportunity on Sunday morning to have a conversation with a representative from the governor's office, and I did ask please give us some tools as to how we are able to respond to the new restrictions imposed by the governor. So yesterday, I received an email from a representative from the governor's office, and it was at 2:11 in the afternoon, where he includes all the different guidance related to the restrictions. And there's a paragraph in here that I'd like to read out loud. And it states, many of you had questions about your council, board meetings, and the opening of government buildings for public access. Local government buildings are not affected by these new restrictions, and you should continue to follow the previous guidance issued. So based on that, yesterday I sent an email to all county employees. The county and office buildings will remain open, and will continue to practice the strategies that we have already put in place, allowing one-way access in some buildings. We have already placed many hand sanitizer units for those who come and conduct business. We have placed decals on the floor to make sure that we provide social distancing. So all the elements that I believe has been proven successful in the past, will continue to provide those as we move along. So the bottom line of that is the governor's new restrictions, based on the information that we received from the governor's office, does not apply to local governments, and we're continuing to open county offices. Any questions?
I don't have any questions. Do you have any, Commissioner Edwards?
No, sir.
Commissioner Menser?
Yes, if we were to close the buildings to public access, how would that impact our employees?
So, and in fact, I was working on the two different scenarios on Sunday with Rob and Maria. One is whether this new restrictions applies to for local governments for us to close. And if we were to close, there is a couple of steps that we needed to take. One, you, the legislative authority, will need to act on a resolution changing the operations of county offices, similar to what you did back in March when we had to close county offices. And also, when, as you may recall, leading to when we opened the county offices, I believe in June, you had to rescind that resolution where you closed the offices. So the first step is the county legislative authority that will have to take an action and modify the hours of operation. Secondly, in the event that we would have to close county offices, there are a few elements that we need to take into account. One, we need to continue to emphasize telecommuting. In the last few months, we have been successful in continuing to provide services on a telework basis. But also there was going to be some employees who will not be, just because of their nature of their work, will not be able to telecommute. And that is going to be a significant number of individuals that will not be able to perform their work. So the strategy behind that is we will allow to use their personal leave, or maybe access some of the federal leave if they have not used in the past. And when they have exhausted all the personal leave, they will be placed unpaid administrative leave. And those are the steps we're considering if county offices would have been needed to be closed as a result of the governor's office. Did I answer your question, Commissioner?
Yes, thank you.
Commissioner Edwards, any questions or comments?
No, sir.
Okay. Ramiro, thank you for that update. So for county government anyway, it is business as usual. Keep services flowing as best as we can.
Well, if I made a caveat, business as usual, since we opened back in June, which is a little bit of a difference.
Business as unusual.
Business as usual based on the conditions of the pandemic. I think Robin
Exactly.
has a...
Assistant County Manager Robin Campbell.
Thank you, Commissioner. I just wanted to add that many of our services are available in ways other than having to come to the county buildings in person. So if you can do your business online or over the phone, or we have alternative ways, then we encourage the public to do that to keep themselves and our employees safe. But our buildings will be open if they need to come in person.
And we don't set the access or limit the access to the courts. They are in charge of their own business at the courthouse.
That is correct. And even on the governor's new guidance and restrictions, they were very specific. Those restrictions does not apply to courts because they operate under a different set of state law.
Got it. Thank you. Good information, good update. Thank you. Next is legislative update.
I don't have any updates for you on this right now, sir.
Okay. And number 9, briefings or public hearing decisions pending.
Nothing pending for you.
Now we're getting into commissioner items, and I'm also keeping an eye on the clock. Number 1 is CRF expenditures update.
Yeah, this is a continued conversation with the board in terms of making sure the county does not leave any kind of relief funds on the table. I believe that we have done a fantastic job in relation to other counties, I believe, across the state. And maybe Robin can elaborate based on the conversations that just happened yesterday at the WASAC, Washington State Association of Counties meeting. So we'll continue to have this objective that by the end of November, we will maximize the coronavirus relief fund to the county. Within those strategies, we'll continue to monitor the internal contracts they set aside to address the internal needs, as well as continue to monitor the external allocations that you made through Thurston Strong, United Way, and Community Action Council. One of the strategies that we provided to the board, and you agree, I believe, a couple of weeks ago, is what if there is some expenditures they would not be able to spend by November 23rd. We did have on a strategy. There is a substantial need related to public safety. When we went through that analysis, we determined that perhaps corrections was the operations in the county. We can maximize that particular aspect or guidance from the Department of Commerce. So with that in mind, we have already worked with the Sheriff's Office, and we have made an initial request for just about $2 million, I believe, and we can get reimbursed for past expenditures within the correction side of the business of the Sheriff's Office. Just to be clear, that reimbursement for those past expenditures does not affect the Sheriff's Office budget. And what it does creates additional capacity for the county to continue to respond to the emergency in 2021. And as you may recall, that was the strategy that the board, at least for right now, set aside $2 million to continue to respond to that emergency and needs in 2021. So that brings me back to next week, November 23rd, as to when the deadline of all the expenditures that you say, all the allocations that you set aside both external and internal, they need to be spent. For those dollars they have not spent, we're going to sweep those back and make sure that we ask for another reimbursement from Commerce to maximize again all the funds they have given to the county. So at this point, it has, there is a little bit of the Community Action Council perhaps is not going to be in the position to spend all the allocation that you have set aside. And we'll continue to work with the Community Action Council just to make sure that we provide enough support for them to spend all the money that has been allocated for them. And it was rent relief as well as utility relief, the two elements related to that allocation from the Coronavirus Relief Fund. So I do believe, and Jenica is going to provide it with additional information, there is going to be some money they're not going to be able to spend. And that's probably going to be just the nature of the deadlines that have been imposed to the county to spend all this money. So the proposal or the strategy behind is the same. We will take those and we'll sweep those back. We'll get the reimbursement from Commerce, and perhaps the ending fund balance of the general fund will increase a little bit more. One of the strategies behind that is for the board to consider to continue to provide services to the Community Action Council. And at that point, it will not be with the deadline the Coronavirus Relief Fund has. I don't know if you're tracking on what I'm trying to say is, as we sweep the money next week for those the dollars that have not been spent, the way we get reimbursed most likely then become part of the ending fund balance of the general fund. And at that point, we'll bring to the board an option to take the same amount that perhaps we took from the Community Action Council to continue to support the efforts they have. As you heard from Keely today, they're doing a fantastic job in providing assistance to those individuals in need who have been affected by COVID-19, both in rental assistance as well as utility assistance. That is really, I want to frame the conversation on those terms today. Jenica, Robin, please add anything that perhaps I missed or misstated.
Jenica?
I don't have anything additional to add for Community Action Council. I think that covered the information that we have right now.
I only had one question, and that is the CAC the only ones that might have residual funding, or is there other entities that have been assigned or awarded money that are in the same pickle?
Our other external allocations are on track to be spent by the 23rd. The EDC has closed all of their grant programs, and so all funding has been committed. They're just on the admin side trying to process, and so we're receiving invoices from the EDC every couple days. United Way is similar. They're also on track to have everything spent. They have invoiced us for all of the grant expenditures. And so they have all of their funds dedicated as well. And on the second round, we've seen that go to organizations like Pear Blossom Place, Boys and Girls Club, YMCA, Senior Services, Food Bank. And so both of those contracts are on track.
Beautiful. Ty, anything for Jenica or Romero or Robin?
No, it seems like it's a creative way to kind of create an extension of time for that assistance that we allocated, so that makes sense to me.
Gary?
The only question I'd have at this point maybe is, have we made an adequate expenditure or all of the expenditure that we needed for the testing process that we're looking for? Do we know the answer to that?
I believe so. I believe that we have met all the needs at this point related to testing. A couple of weeks ago, I believe last week, you approved a contract with Providence to continue to support the free testing they conduct, and that's part of the Coronavirus Relief Fund. You recall the Department of Health purchased 2 ambulances, as well as testing equipment to have mobile testing, and they have already conducted maybe a handful of free testing, particularly in the south part of the county. And also we're in the process to provide these rapid testing machines you were briefed maybe a couple of months ago, and we're in the process of doing that. So to answer your question, yes, we're, at least from my point of view, we're meeting the needs of the testing to the best of our ability.
Okay, thank you.
And Robin?
I think it's also important to keep in mind that a chunk of the money that went to public health has an additional 30 days to spend. So we've spent all we can in public health, but they have a little longer to spend the money that they received that did not come through the Department of Commerce.
Thank you.
I have a statement, and number one is I'm really two statements or a statement and a question. Number one, I'm surprised that the Community Action Council has not been able to spend all the allotted money. I thought the need was so great that it just kind of boggles my mind.
But if I may, keep in mind, and I just probably advocate for the Community Action Council, I think they have done a fantastic job, but it's a lot of money. They receive, as you may recall, from the Department of Commerce, for rent relief, $3.2 million. The board allocated an additional $1.7 million that includes the utility subsidies. In addition, all the other jurisdictions, I believe, cities Olympia and Lacey and Tumwater, have also taken some of their current release funds and directed to the Community Action Council to provide those services. So there is a lot of money to spend in such a short period of time. And through the process, they need to do mindfully, making sure they have the interviews in place, making sure that those individuals who are seeking assistance out of the fund meets the criteria. So, I understand your comment, but also I'd like to give kudos to Community Action Council because they have done a fantastic job to meet the needs of the community. It's just the constraints they have been putting in front of us is the amount of money the federal government give us in the short period of time in which we need to spend. So.
Well, it's not a disparaging comment at all about the Community Action Council. They just do an amazing job under the constraints, an amazing job. I just thought the need was far greater than the money, but the money seemed to be far greater than the need, if that makes sense.
No, it's process.
The timeline that's killing us.
Yeah.
Pardon me?
It's the timeline, the deadlines.
Yeah.
To spend the money that are killing us. The need is out there. It's just trying to address it all within a few months is not reasonable.
It was the United Way or the CAC who was doing the basic needs and hygiene products to families. Jenica.
United Way has provided some funds to organizations that have services like that.
Okay, I just know the need is out there, and so I'm happy with it, and I'm happy with all the organizations. I'm glad we've networked with them, and they've done everything that they can to help, and that's great.
And Commissioner, if I may, with the strategy that we presented to you related when we receive the funds, and there is going to be an opportunity for the county to consider to continue to support the needs of the community, because you're absolutely right, the need has not ended. And perhaps with these new restrictions, the need is going to increase. And that is why the strategy behind this is to provide the county the ability to continue to support and respond to the needs of the community and to the needs of the emergency itself.
And with the new Congress, there may be new funding coming through, more relief.
We can only hope.
Okay. Jenica, thank you very kindly. That takes us to agenda item number 2 under commissioners, and that is hiring exemptions.
Yeah, Commissioner, for your consideration, I have 3 positions for you to lift the hiring freeze. Consider lifting the hiring freeze. One is the judicial assistant in Superior Court, and that is going to be a position that will be vacated by for now, the newly elected county commissioner. The other one is in Public Works. That's the county assistant 4, and that is in solid waste. And the last position is facilities technician 2 and central services. Those positions have become vacant, and those are critical to the business of the county. And I recommend the board lifting the hiring freeze on those 3 positions. Commissioner Mensah asked the question as to when this perhaps end. The initial decision that you made on continue to have this conversation is December 31st, 2020. So one of the first items that I will bring for you, the board's consideration in 2021, whether you like to continue with this hiring freeze action, or you may want to consider lifting it. So that is the follow-up on that.
Okay. Ty, do you have anything to follow up on that? Or any comments?
No, I would be curious. I don't know how easy the numbers are to crunch, but and it's not top priority. I'm looking at Robin, but I would be curious to know. Let's say we lift the hiring freeze in December 31st, whatnot. I'd be curious to know exactly what benefit was gained out of the hiring freeze in 2021. How many positions actually got vacated, not filled, and then resulted in savings to the county.
I think
just
so
have a sense
far I
of
have seen 2 positions.
that gives us a sense of it. Thank you.
Gary?
Just following up on Ty's question. What was our beginning fund balance is not the right question, but somewhere in, I don't know, around February, March, it seems like we had a pretty good starting fund balance in this year's budget. Now we're going to have a pretty good ending fund balance in this year's budget, aren't we? I mean, do you know those numbers right off the top of your head, or just roughly?
The current estimated ending fund balance is 22.8 million. I'd have to look up what the beginning fund balance was.
And then I guess, we don't know what's coming. I guess that's what we're trying to plan for. But do we need to continue with this hiring freeze is my question, I guess, maybe to my seatmates or the county manager too. Is this something that we need to continue to struggle with? Because I'm all for giving these exemptions, obviously.
Yeah, and again, my plan was to continue with this action based on the previous decisions by the board through December 31st, 2020. But certainly at this point, you can lift it. That's within your purview to give that direction.
I saw Commissioner Mensah do something there, because maybe I'm with him on that.
Well, I asked the same question last week, and we're obviously not doing a hiring freeze. We continue, as Robin just said, we've only actually frozen 2 positions out of the entire pandemic. So whether we lift it today or if it's easier administratively for the county manager to do it in January, I'm fine with that. But whatever's easier administratively, but clearly we don't have a hiring freeze right now.
Yeah.
And so if it's easy enough to lift it today, then I'm happy to lift it today.
Robin, when you brought this to us, we were talking about these things months ago, probably in February or March. You mentioned regarding hiring freeze that it's misnamed. It's no such thing as hiring freeze, because there's always exemptions that come in, and we continue to hire people, and it says on an as-needed basis, and it's always under these circumstances where it's got to be filled. So I'm along with my seatmates. If we lift it, we lift it. If we wait till January, that's fine too. Gary, I cut you off. You were starting to say something.
Well, how about just allowing the county manager to deal with it until then?
And I'm okay with that. I'm sorry, I really don't know what you directed me to do. I'm sorry.
So we would I think what the board is saying is, rather than bring these hiring exemptions to us, that we would lift that or rescind that freeze, whatever that language is, and just give you the authority to hire when these positions come open like this. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Through the end of the year.
Rescind it now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm hearing. The board is rescinding the hiring freeze, hiring chill. So you will not see any new positions for you to take for your consideration in upcoming meetings. In the normal process related to positions on the on the departments, no, and on the offices. The assistant county manager and the county manager are part of the approval process before they get advertised. So we'll go back to that model as well.
Yeah, okay, thumbs up from me. 2, 3.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Public testimony.
I really don't have any pending public testimony that I need to follow up, Commissioners.
Okay, then I'll go around the block here. Commissioner Edwards, any commissioner items you have? We have a few minutes.
No, I don't think so at this point. We've got a good topic coming up here in about a half hour. I guess we'll have enough time.
Yeah, Commissioner Menser, anything, sir?
I'm good for today.
And so am I. This concludes the work session for November 17th, 2020, and it's 10 o'clock. We're going to come back at 10:30 for a special meeting for the Board of Health.
If I may, this is a record setting, going through agenda setting in an hour.
Thank you all. Thank you all very much. And this meeting is now adjourned.